So the last question that I asked Jason before we took a little break was dealing with when it's that us versus them, cops versus inmates, and you're kind of in a hostile facility, but you need to kind of be allies with them. How do you recommend that we help our loved ones through that?
So let me just make sure I understand the question right. So
Yeah.
how, like, so since we're coming home, and let me say we're coming home, and our loved ones may still have that kind of animosity towards authority figures because maybe they felt we were done unjust or whatever the case, but they still have that stance that maybe they haven't dealt with some of the things that we've dealt with. Is that kind of what you're saying? How do I help them deal with that?
Yeah, because you were answering the question earlier. You were saying it's really not us versus them, and you kind of have to work together with them. So I know a lot of places, and even like McKean's kind of moving towards this right now, where it's a very much, we're not going to work with you. It's us versus you guys, and it's going to be hostile. And you were saying to kind of help your transition, you had to work with them. So
Right.
if you're in a place, or if your loved one is in a place that they don't want to have to deal anything with you, how does he handle that, or she handle that from the inside?
Okay. So you're a loved one on the outside, and they're on the inside, and they still have that. You saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we always believe in the coach approach. So using coaching and using the coach approach, because here's the thing. This was the challenge for me as an educator with mathematics. I know the answer. So using the coach approach, I had to switch and change to not giving answers anymore, right? So it's the same thing with this, because I can't tell someone how they can feel towards somebody else. I can't tell them how they should feel even towards somebody else. But what I can ask them is, how does that help, or how does that benefit if you feel like that towards somebody else, or if you have these emotions towards other individuals? So you can ask those open-ended questions, those powerful questions, to help facilitate the others' kind of light coming on moment where they say, you know what, it doesn't help. And the other thing is, in what way, different questions like, in what ways is it possible to look at that person as a human being? Here's another one that I like too. If you want someone to give you a chance when you come home, or if you want someone to give you a chance when you want a job or an apartment, and you've made mistakes, then then obviously you believe that there's redeeming qualities in yourself, that you've paid your debt, and you have changed, right? So you have to believe that about others too. Then you have to believe that others can change, and if you want someone to give you a chance, then you have to give somebody else a chance, don't you? So you can pose these questions in such a way that kind of helps people think differently about the situation. But a full frontal kind of attack, I would never advocate, like challenging too much how someone believes, because it gets into a confrontation or argument. I would ask questions. I would come from that standpoint.
I love that. That's such great advice. So what was the single most valuable resource you had access to during your transition?
I'd say, okay, I'm going to go with my spiritual first. I'm going to give a couple things, because I have my spiritual first, like Mass and praying the rosary. These are resources to me that have sustained me throughout my life, and continue to do so during this transition. So on my spiritual side, it would be Mass and the Rosary. On the kind of relational side, it's been the relationships that like I said, some advocates from the DOJ and the probation department that came to McKean and worked with us, and I've been able to work with out here, as well as another coaching colleague, Michael Talley, who has been here. Those relationships helped to give me some comfortability coming here to Pittsburgh and making that transition. So they were great resources. And then on a practical side, I'd say, well, let me say this. Here in Pittsburgh, I don't know about other districts, the Halfway House and the other organizations, there's some good resources there too. As far as like the men and women can reach out and get some clothing or cars or jobs or whatever, transportation, I should say. So those are there as well. For me, though, the phone, like having my smartphone, that was probably, like, on the practice side, my single best resource, because all the information that's at your fingertips, the ability to establish and maintain great relationships, which is, for me, is essential. And you know, even on the spiritual side, I can download the apps for different daily devotionals, meditations, and stuff like that. So for me, like, if I had to just pick one, and on a practical side, that would be for everyone, that everyone could say is a great, one of their best resources, probably my smartphone.
I love that. And you were gone for 7 years this time?
9.5 this time.
9.5. So how was it transitioning back to a smartphone? Were they really different from when you first went in, the way you remember?
Well, yeah, because the iPhone was out, but I didn't get it because, like, like when everybody does something, I was like, and everybody's, all right, I'm not doing it then. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm going to be different. You know what I'm saying? So there was people getting the iPhone, everybody was getting an iPhone, and so I didn't. But I had just a regular, well, I had a phone that had internet access and all that, but it was nowhere near like it is now. And so, yes, it was totally different. Get used to that and navigating. But I'm pretty good with, like, technology and things like that in general. Like, I just get on there and mess around with it. Now, as long as I don't download any viruses or anything, because sometimes I might hit a button that I'm not supposed to hit, like back in the day on the internet and stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't too bad of a problem. It was it's like an adventure. It's exciting for me. So I look at things like that, though. You know, that's my outlook on life. You know what I'm saying? No, there's certain things like heights and stuff like that. That's not an adventure. That's something I don't want to do. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. When I went to China with my university, when I came home from the state prison and I was in China, so it was a joint trip. It was anthropology and that's my field, and it was geology. So on the geology side, we were up these mountains, and man, we had to walk up the side of a mountain. I was scared to death crawling up the side of the mountain. And I'm sorry, Ro, to go off on tangents like that, but it just popped in my head. So
I'm the tangent queen. This is great. I love it. Keep going.
Okay, no, yeah, that's it. So, like, that, I don't look at it as like an opportunity. That's a challenge that I overcame, but I don't want to do it again. But for the smartphones, that's an opportunity and a challenge that I really thoroughly enjoy navigating through, and most of them I do too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and you were saying that you're pretty good at technology. It's funny. So is Adam, and he hasn't seen or done, he wasn't around. Oh, he wasn't around. Of course he was around, but he was inside when Facebook was a thing and Google was barely a thing. Like, it's so different now than it was when he went inside. And he still teaches me all kinds of technological stuff. It's insane. But then he kind of gets on me sometimes, like, it's so easy. You just do this. And I'm like, but it's not. Like, you've never done it. So it's that back and forth. But
it's easy in theory, and it's easy how they lay it out in the book or in the article, but then when the application of it in the machine breaks down or jams up or freezes up, then yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, and you guys, give us some thumbs up if you can relate to that, because so many of us, it's a joke among our community, Jason, where we're like, everyone's like, oh, I'm the secretary again today, because you know, we all get these, hey, you need to Google this. And my favorite of all time, and I've gotten good ones, but this one woman has everybody beat. He asked her to Google, like, it was something ridiculous, like species of chickens or something. And he was dead serious. Ridiculous. Yeah. And then we had another woman who, and I feel bad because I always use this example, and it's not me picking on her or anything. I use it as a teaching experience a lot, because she was literally going to hire somebody to Google stuff for him because she didn't have time to do it. And I was like, sweetheart, a lot of their instant gratification is what led a lot of people to the lifestyle that they led to make them go inside. So he has to learn how to wait until you have time to Google something, because I'd be damned if I'm going to pay somebody to do something that I can do for free when I have a free minute. It's kind of crazy, but I thought that was very, very, very interesting. So see, I'm right there with you on tangents.
Can I speak on? No, can I speak on that real quick?
Please.
All right. So look. So yeah. So and I have to say this. Okay. On a relationship, I had a great woman, and she's an excellent, great woman, and she is a great woman, and she gave me some feedback. We're not together now, but she gave me some feedback on this too. Like, because you on the inside, we're like, oh, I asked you that like a week and a half ago or whatever, and like you're not doing anything out there but waiting for me to ask you to Google something or do something, like, you know what I'm saying? So like, so we had that exchange, and I had to think about it myself. Like, okay, hold on. There's got kids, got bills, there's all kinds of stuff that, and so if like, and I know like I'm pretty bad with it. I can come back to back to back. Like, look, I need this done, I need this. But it's the internet. You're surfing the internet anyway. So this is how I'm coming, though. You know, you're on the internet. All I need you to do is when you're Googling the other thing, Google my thing too. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that easy. Like, they miss us. You know, they miss their loved one. So there's a whole lot of emotions and things going on. So I became really aware of that. And so we need to become more aware of that. So I appreciate your candor on that.
Yeah. And it's funny because this happened with Adam recently. I have a girlfriend named Lauren who will go back and forth because I have an IM screen up at work because I'm on Google. That's what my office uses. We use Gmail. So on Google Hangouts, which is basically just like an IM system, we're going back and forth, like a couple words, and then maybe a couple hours will pass. And then because it's a chat box, she could see what I said. And a couple hours later, she could give me a couple words. And then that's what we do all day long throughout the day when we have time, because we're like really close friends. So Adam makes a comment to me one time, and he says, I wish that you gave me that much attention or something like that. And I had to explain to him, like, but in IM, it's very different. If it's a text thread, it's very different. If I was doing that with you over core links, it's not going to make sense. It's going to be more frustrating than it is helpful or entertaining for you. And it kind of took a minute for him to understand that. So for everybody here that has somebody who's been gone for a really long time, Jason just kind of confirmed that we're not crazy.
No, we understand. Now, I'll say this though too, because I'm gonna give on the guys. There's balance here too. So there's times where maybe you didn't come, and I'm not gonna speak. This is something you guys gotta work, guys or girls, whoever's on the outside, that y'all gotta say, okay, you know what? Maybe I could do a little bit more, or maybe I didn't do enough. So there is that too, though. But I'm just gonna own for mine. I know I was dead wrong on a lot of instances. So there's both of it, though.
Yeah, and bringing it back to coaching, I think it's about communication and it's about boundaries. And I always tell the girls, and I tell Adam this too, the only thing that I will stop, drop, and Google for is if it's legal. And if it's something that can help him or one of our very good friends or whomever out. But if it's just Googling species of chickens, which Adam, thank God, has never done to me, but something along those lines, he knows now it's been so long that we'll get to it when we can get to it.
Right. That's fair. And you're right about communication. You negotiate that like anything, or work it out and, say, okay, these are the boundaries of love. You have to have these boundaries because that's what makes it a great, healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't realize you had a relationship on the inside. That's amazing. So maybe I can ask you a few more questions. How long were you together before you went in?
Yep.
And she stayed with you?
Yeah, she stayed with me almost throughout the whole time. Yep.
Okay. So 90%, if not, 100% of the women that I've ever coached who were with their loved ones before he was incarcerated, because we have like a significant amount of people as well who met them already when they were inside through pen pal ads and through friends and roommates. But right now I'm just talking about the people who had the relationships before, like you did. Yeah. A lot of times the guy, when and like you said earlier, yes, men and women, but majority of our fan base is women supporting men on the inside, and a few men supporting men on the inside as well. So for those people, they go through a phase where he pushes her away. And so did you ever go through that in the beginning where you were trying to adjust to the inside and maybe there was some guilt or something associated with stringing her through this?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And I did that in my first incarceration. I definitely did. I definitely did that. This incarceration, I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it happened in the beginning, but maybe towards the end it happened on. I've been trying to analyze this, and I don't know. I definitely don't have all the answers in kind of relationships, so I might not be the one. But as I reflect on it, there may have been some of that throughout. There may have been some of that in the beginning. I don't think so. Towards the end, I really kind of felt maybe a little bit from the other side, like maybe there was a little pushing away or distancing on her side. So, and like I said, like I've never tried to hang it out with someone for like 9-10 years on the other side being a great partner, so I can't never say whatever you're going through, whatever she was going through was wrong or not, or the way she handled it was wrong or not, because I never did it. And I don't know if I could do it as long as she did it. So I don't judge, and I just, I'm trying to take one step at a time out here and go forward and not think back too much. But there may have been a little bit. I know my first incarceration, there was definitely that. I definitely pushed away.
Okay. Okay. And I don't want to get too personal, so you don't have to answer all of these questions, but
I'll tell you, no, don't worry about that. I'll tell you. I'm not going to answer a question now.
Okay, because I know that the questions that are going to come up out of this, right? Because you have to remember, we're all sitting out here waiting all this time and hoping and praying that it's going to work out and that we didn't, quote unquote, waste this time, right? Not me, but I'm speaking on behalf of all of these people that are watching this. So, and Arturo kind of went into very briefly his relationship and how it didn't work out after he got out. So my question to you is, was it the transition that broke you guys up, or did this happen before?
No, it happened before. It actually happened before, and it started happening a few years ago. So, over years, and we grew apart and grew distant, and I don't know, I don't know the reason, and like I said, I don't even. It's like math problems. I'll stick with the math problem and try and figure it out for a minute. For this one, I'm not, because I think it's just unhealthy too much to try and figure it out. But it happened a few years ago, and it happened where we started growing apart and grow distant, and then it just culminated in us kind of like separating. And so now, but as far as the people coming home and transition, I've heard of others going through it during the transition, which for the significant other, and for, and we'll go with the women because they're in often cases the significant other, because the percentage of men that are incarcerated is significantly higher. So they do feel that a lot of times probably that it was some negative or something ill intent or something on that, if they go all the way to the door and then come to the transition, and then, but even on that, just hold out on the verdict on that, because the transition is a difficult thing. It is very difficult. Some people don't make it. Some people, when they do make the transition, they kill themselves or they do something intentionally to go back inside because they can't make the transition. So we'll hold out the verdict on exactly what the motive or intention was, and try and be understanding and with that. And I know that's like, you're like, don't tell me to be understanding. I've been understanding for 10, 15, 20 years. But at the end of the day, it does take that deep level of patience and understanding for yourself to have a well-being and a healthiness to yourself. So even if you don't do it for him, do it for yourself to work through your own emotions and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that that's really sound advice, because I want everyone to go into this eyes wide open. And I always say, like, we're deciding every single day if we want to continue doing this or not. And it's okay to not. It's okay that if it's getting too tough, or it's just not serving you anymore, just like you said with yours, you couldn't really put your finger on it, but it just wasn't serving either one of you anymore, and it's okay to move on. So I love that advice. I mean, I think that that's awesome, and I think that it's better that you're not dwelling on the math problem of it, because you're never going to be able to figure it out. And so, yeah, I love that. And I love the advice of just kind of being patient, because there is so much going on. And I did a video with a woman named Lisa out in California, and I'll post that here somewhere too, for you guys to click on. But Lisa's husband was a lifer out in California, and he was awarded an early parole when they changed the law. And she really went into depth of how they survived. And there were points where it got really, really difficult for them over that first year. And they're just a year mark now, and they made it, but it was tough. And so I don't think it'll ever be just a cakewalk when somebody gets out, because you're fighting the PTSD, you're fighting the system, you're learning each other again, you're learning how to reintegrate both of your separate lives now. And there's just a lot of emotion. So yeah, it's either it'll stand the test of time or it won't. And I don't think that that's a reason to just be like, I'm done, I don't want to do this, because that's like any relationship. You can go into a relationship and you meet on the street, and 10 years later it doesn't work out. Yeah,
that's true. Good point. That's a great point.
Yeah. Okay. So did I ask you about what was the single most valuable resource? Yes, I did. What essential resource was missing throughout your transition?
I have to say, like, I don't think like there's any essential resource. Like all my essential, every resource that to make this transition has been available to me. So I can't say that there's any essential resource that's been missing. Now, I don't have a car, but I use public transportation, and that serves me well. I get around, I do what I have to do. So that would be one resource that may hinder individuals if they don't have public transportation, they don't have a car, and it's hard for them to get around. That would be something. But for me, it hasn't been. So I'd say for me, I don't see any thing that like I say, well, man, if I only had that, that would make it a lot easier. I don't see anything out there that could help me like that.
Well, that's awesome. Okay, so what advice would you give someone planning to be released within the next 90 days?
Within the next 90 days. So, okay, I'm thinking myself like I'm 90 days to the door. I already mentioned the home plan. Make sure if you can take care of that. But 90 days to the door, like hopefully you have everything. You've already done everything you got to do. So you're on coast. What we say, you're coasting now to the door. You're just trying to make it through the rest of this incarceration and get home. I say be vigilant about your self-care and the meditation and the prayer, or the exercise, the working out, the things that you do that help you stay sane and healthy. Make sure you're vigilant about that, because there's anxiety as you come to the door that creeps up on you might not know about. So the self-care issues, you really have to take care of those, because you don't want to go out the door with an altercation or some negative write-up or anything because you weren't vigilant about your self-care. If you get your sleep, get your rest, drink your water, eat right, exercise, pray, meditate, do these things that have maintained you throughout, then make sure you are extra vigilant the last 90 days. And continue it when you come home. Continue those things when you come home to deal with that anxiety and that frustration and those things. I'd say that's probably the best advice I could give someone. Yeah,
that's really good advice, because I know through these people how much anxiety there is during that transition. And even we have a lot of people who also push their loved ones away. So it's the first 6 months when they go in, and then the last 12 to 6 months when they're getting ready to come home, because of all of that emotion that you're talking about. So I love that, like, self-care, leaning on a higher power advice that you just gave, and all of the things to help kind of calm that anxiety and combat it. I love that. Okay, so this is kind of a two-parter. As loved ones, how can we help make the transition easier? And what's one thing you wish that your loved ones had done differently to make your transition easier?
Okay. So one's like a specific, with my loved ones, one's in general, anyone's loved one. What could, I'll say be aware. With my loved ones too, but loved ones in general, be aware that.
Sorry. Somebody was just trying to come in the room. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was like, so look, I was trying not to follow that. I'm like, well, hold on, she's pointing me to where are we going? No.
I was going to point to her and be like, wait. And then I was like, wait, no, wrong person. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. So
see, like, real life.
Yeah, this is great. So be aware that you don't know what your man's going, your significant other's going through, your husband, your son, your brother, whatever it is. You don't know the experience, and you know that probably. But since you don't know, and he does have times where he gets frustrated or whatever, just be aware that that is gonna happen. So if you already know that's gonna happen, you know these things are gonna occur. And so part of that being aware, I guess, is you're joining a wonderful platform like yours, where you do bring these types of topics up and issues up, so that can bring that awareness, so people are better able to handle it when it does occur. But don't get me wrong, you can learn and be aware, and then it still catches you a little off guard when someone reacts and is frustrated or whatever, but you've already prepared a little bit, so you're able to handle it a little bit better. You're like, okay, I knew that was coming because I did the investigation, I did my research, I knew that when people transition home, they go through these emotions, they go through these ups and downs a little bit. So being aware, doing your research to to know that. Specifically with my family, so I would say that too. You know, like they could have asked more questions to find out like things we go through. They were kind of blessed in this sense. Even though I go through those, I have a lot of tools that I deal with it a lot better than some men that come home. They don't have those tools, so they don't get to see it. They don't know that I'm going through these things because I deal with them. You know, I know how to deal with them. So that's, you know, that was something that they didn't. I would tell them to do that, be aware, because that's helpful for that. But again, like I said, they didn't have to go through that. I'm trying to think of something specifically that my family could have done or in preparation for my transition, because they've been a blessing. They've helped me at every, and like, this is my second incarceration, so they can say, okay, listen, Jason, we've been through this. You said you were changing. Matter of fact, you were at the top of your class at Youngstown State University, straight A's. If you didn't finish and do good then, it's over with. You're never going to do good. They could have had that, and I couldn't have faulted them for it, because like I was coming in like, dang, how did this happen? You know what I'm saying? I'm waking up got a 12-year incarceration. I did 9.5. Like, how does it happen that you're at the top of your class? So they could have done that, but they didn't. And so they've been great every step of the way. I can't, like, for myself, like, I don't like to like nitpick, so I don't want to do it with them, but I do want to give some good feedback to the question, but I can't really think of anything right now, bro.
I think you actually answered this a couple times without even realizing it, because you said a couple times having that home plan, right? And maybe having the apartment set up, and they probably had to help you through that.
Yeah. That would be the one. That would be the one thing. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because that would be the one thing that if they could have moved out, like one of them could move down here to get an apartment, so that way I could have had that apartment and had that home plan. That would have been that would have been like something that would have got me. Although I managed it, I got through it, but it would have been something that could have got me out the halfway house a little bit sooner and reaching towards my goals a little bit sooner. So that would have been great. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So last question is kind of a bonus one. What was the best purchase of $100 or less that you've made since you've been home?
$100 or less.
Yeah.
Well, now with inflation and everything, you know, it's 10 years, decades, $100 doesn't really get you a lot. But let me think. I'd say, okay, so my smartphone. Now, it was more than $100, but with $100, you could go and get the plan and get the phone, and then, you know, make payments on your cell phone bill. So I would say with $100, that's what I would go spend it on, my smartphone. Because like I said, that was the most practical and best tool and resource for me to be able to establish relationships, maintain and keep great relationships, and look for the resources that I need to make the transition, jobs, everything. You know what I'm saying? So I'd say with $100, go get a smartphone. Go get a unlimited talk, text, and data. Get the smartphone, and then if you still own the smartphone and you have to pay, because what they do is they'll charge you $5 extra a month on your bill. That's manageable. You can pay extra $5 a month on your bill for a nice smartphone that's going to be a game changer for you. So that's what I would do.
Oh, that's excellent. I love that advice. I love your knowledge and your insight, and you're brilliant. And thank you so much for doing this, not only for me, for all of the people that'll benefit from hearing the wisdom from you. And I just want to commend you on your second chance and everything that you've done. And since you've been home, how far you've taken. This is a personal thing, but everybody, like Adam and I are, not me, I don't want to be egotistical here, but Adam's like a celebrity, right, to all of my members and my fans, because I've been talking about him for years. And so you've taken that vision. They all know about Hope Coaching and everything that you guys have done. And you've really taken that vision and hit the ground running since you've been home. And I've been hearing bits here and there when I go to visit and everything. So it's amazing. You're keeping that vision alive, and you're making the best out of your second chance. And these are the stories that I'm so happy to highlight. And I would love for you to come back anytime. In fact, I would love to get all the Hope coaches on video all together that we can do. And then I think that there's a way, possibly, I just need to figure out the technology. Maybe I should ask Adam. We could actually do a live video. I know Poochie did one with me last year or 2 years ago, where the girls or the guys can actually ask questions in real time that we can answer, which would be cool.
Yeah,
you guys are keen for that. That would be awesome.
I'm definitely down. And like I told you, That's what I've been doing, man, getting the men together out here that are out here, coordinating that and getting these men to work together for our project. And so with that, we have some great men, I have great colleagues that would love to mix it up with the women and answer some questions and get it in and get real, you know?
Anyone, anytime, can't tell you how much it's appreciated, can't tell you how much your voices matter, and they matter to us. And we sometimes feel like the forgotten ones, or the ones that are so frazzled and taken advantage of, not by you guys, but kind of by society, and misunderstood and stigmatized. So anyone you can send our way with information, we would love. Is there anything else you want to leave everybody with today?
I guess, you know, the constant theme, my message is continue to be your best and be great. You know, Adam says this a lot lately. He's been saying a lot, be great, you know, and I'm gonna go with that too, you know, because individually be great and be your best. And then the natural progression for us was to reach out to the men around us, and then the staff, and then the outside community. So as you do reach for your best self and your full potential, bring some people with you. And so if all of us start thinking like that, using the coach approach, asking questions and helping others reach their full potential, if we start engaging and interacting like this, whether it's the workplace, the community, our own homes, let's start doing that again. Let's start building communities, building families, and this is where we can make a difference. We have to believe that we can change the world. We have to believe that. And so I believe it, and if everyone starts working at it, we can make this better.
Oh, I love that so much. 2 little words, such a huge impact. Be great. That's what we're going to leave you guys with. Jason, thank you so much. You have a great day, and I cannot wait to do this all over again.
You too. Okay. Thank you, Ro, for the invite.
Of course. All right, I'm going to stop this.